Hi, my name is Joseph McGovern. I'm a master's student at Texas A&M University Kingsville in the Kleberg Wildlife Research Institute. And I'm here to talk about some of the work we're doing out at Cheyenne Bottoms related to our Northern Pintail migration ecology study. So we have GPS transmitters on female Northern Pintails that were caught in the wintering areas in California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Louisiana. And I'm interested in what's known as stopovers. So these are really important areas for migrating birds as they're on their way up and back from their breeding areas up in the prairie pothole region of the northern U.S. and Canada. They'll stop over at these wetland sites like Cheyenne Bottoms to feed, to refuel. It's just like a gas station along a long road trip, essentially. So these stopover areas are very important. Birds obviously use these to refuel, but they also, particularly Northern Pintails, will also use the reserves that they acquire on stopovers to fund their breeding efforts up in the prairie potholes. So when they get up there, it's cold and snowy, and there's hardly any food around for them. Now think about a landscape like Kansas, the biggest wetland in the interior United States, at Cheyenne Bottoms, for example, in a landscape that's fairly dry across there. Think about how critical an area like this. One of our birds stopped over here in 2022, so we tracked her through here. She started out in Texas and then worked her way up through Oklahoma, and then stopped over in Kansas before going on into the Dakotas. And she only stayed here for a day, but that day was likely very critical for her. If she's in a really high quality area like this area is, she doesn't need to stop over for very long. But for poorer quality stopovers, potentially, she may need to stay longer, and that delays their migration. And what's really interesting, especially with waterfowl, is the sooner that they get to the breeding areas, the more likely they are to be successful at breeding. So really important. Stopover quality and stopover availability are super important. One of the aspects that I'm particularly interested in is another factor, and that's severe weather. So a lot of times these stopover areas are really important for sheltering from severe weather. And so what I'm interested in is how that influences their activity patterns, and how they potentially are responding to severe weather when they're at stopover. One of the ways we're doing that, we're taking, this unit here behind me is measuring air temperature over the water. So we're really trying to get at what temperature the birds are actually experiencing, not just what's measured by a weather station. And so we're using a computer model to estimate that based on the vegetation and the climate that's available. Lots of different factors go into that. And that gets us an estimate of what that bird is experiencing in the environment. What this is doing, again, is measuring air temperature, and so we're trying to assess how accurate that model is, and we're using stopovers that we know were used by pintails. As you saw earlier, lots of pintails were here. But yeah, so it's our hope to really get at a couple of things. One, if there is a pattern where pintails are responsive to cold temperatures when they're at stopovers, if they are responsive, that means that extreme weather might actually matter to them, and that might be an additional cost for them during spring migration. And so, that has implications. We know with climate change that extreme weather events are becoming more common, and so understanding how pintails are responding to weather variability now could give us an indication of how they might respond in the future. That has implications for their reproduction, that has implications for their survival. It's all connected, and that's really the challenge with migratory species like pintails and waterfowl in general. It's not just one area that we have to protect. We have to have a whole network of stopovers, of winter areas. Really important that we conserve all of those areas, and every area counts, especially areas like Cheyenne Bottoms.